I just wish that when I started in real estate, of course I had some proper expectations that real estate brokerages would tell me the truth about what to expect the first year in business. So here I'll explain as we go tour a couple of properties what I think real estate agents or real estate brokerages should share to their new agents. So stay tuned. So we arrived at the first property. Very bad. Alright, so we made it into the first property, and I personally had a quick tour of the place. And of course, at the end of today, after looking at 4 places, we'll decide which one that we want to hold an open house for. But again, to get straight to the point, a lot of real estate offices, in fact, probably all of them, don't tell the new agents what to expect their first year of business, because to me, that's probably the biggest hurdle that all agents have to face, is that first year of being in business. So the number one thing that I would probably say is that you're probably going to come out of it with little money, right? Especially if you're coming from a corporate job where you're getting paid a decent amount that covers both your personal expenses as well as your required expenses and all that stuff. You might be in a situation, most likely, if you're transitioning into the real estate business, where you're not making as much as you initially were. Of course, there are a lot of people who are out there who, they did a great job getting their business started. They had the right mindset, they had, somewhat okay skills, and they had the drive to, actually be able to provide an income for themselves. But for the most part, I would say that most real estate agents, when they first start in their first year, they're not going to be making more than, let's say, $50K a year. Because that's the truth for myself. I didn't make anything more than that. And it's because there's a big learning curve in how to handle this business. Because once again, it's not a job, it's a business. And the whole business versus job aspect is such a critical point to reiterate, because, when you transition from a job to a business like this one, you are the only one keeping yourself accountable. That's right. So if you think of all the times that your boss, would keep you accountable, there would always be a system to check you in when you, clocked in for work and all that stuff. That stuff doesn't exist anymore. Again, you are your own boss, which in its own way could be a benefit, but also a curse. A curse in that if someone is undisciplined with their work, they're not going to be able to provide that income for themselves, right? But again, I would just say that not to expect much in income, because there's a steep learning curve, and depends on who you are as an individual when it comes to that learning phase. Now, I know you might be thinking that it's kind of a pessimistic attitude that I'm exhibiting when it comes to what to expect for your income. Well, the numbers don't lie, really. And I would much rather tell you the truth, tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. Because every single agent that walks into the doors of a new office has dreams and aspirations of making $200K a year in real estate. And I'm not saying you should give up on those dreams, because I have my own, right? That's what we get into this business for. But I'm more of a realist than an optimist, and I would much rather know the odds that I'm facing and the realities of what to expect, so that I can truly brace for impact, the gruesomeness of this business, and just truly know how hard I must work to get the results that I want. So again, this video and this channel in general is here to communicate the truth rather than what you want to hear. Alright, so we made it to the second property. This was a flip. I visited this before. Alright, so we just got in. Typically, flips do well with open houses because everybody wants to have that new build property. So, typical 3-bed, 2-bath in my area. Alright, so the second thing that I want to say is that when you get into this business, prepare yourself for a lot of emotional highs and lows. A lot of emotional roller coasters. And that can be broken down into 2 different aspects. The emotional roller coasters for yourself and the emotional roller coasters dealing with other people. So more with yourself. Like I said in the first point, you might have you might not be making a lot of money in the very beginning, but what you'll experience is a very high income moment, which comes in the form of commissions, because you could easily make 10, 20 grand in 1 month, but then make 0 grand the next month. So with that comes a lot of emotional highs and lows. You might be facing a very good month in January, but then in February you might have no business. It happens to a lot of people, especially after like a vacation, especially in the winter, right? So with that in mind, you got to be able to balance those emotional roller coasters, because it does affect your business. Your emotional state will very much dictate the income that you make in this business, which is why I'm always talking about how psychology and mindset is your greatest weapon and greatest enemy in this business, okay? But secondary to that is the emotions of the emotional roller coasters when dealing with other people, right? So, of course, as an agent, you have a responsibility of dealing with people's buying and selling goals. So with that in mind, you gotta understand, sorry, the gimbal's kind of weird, but you gotta understand that people are truly invested into whatever it is that they are trying to get. Whether it be to sell their property or to buy another one, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least in my market, as it is with any other market, quite frankly. Right? So you got to be able to properly manage people's expectations. Help them see the other end of the spectrum, the light at the end of the tunnel, and not get so caught up in these emotional reactions to so many little things that quite frankly don't even matter, right? So an important point that I want to make is that if you don't know how to manage your own emotions, I'll say it again, if you don't know how to manage your own emotions, what makes you think you can manage the emotions of another person? Albeit your clients. Because if you have some problem within yourself, problem with your self-interaction, a human interaction, what you got going on in here, they're going to manifest themselves in the form of your clients. Because quite frankly, like I said before, money is a byproduct of our beliefs, values, and standards. If we have such low standards for ourselves and we have these very negative thoughts playing through our head, it's going to show through with our clients. And of course, the way we earn money in this business is by servicing our clients, right? And it might be a little hard for you to understand if you're not in the business, but I want you to know that the emotional side of this, of this career is what truly dictates how people survive this business. Some people can't, because they can't imagine, or they can't manage their emotions, which ultimately leads to their downfall. So a good way for you to understand how to control your emotions is to think of yourself as the eye of a storm. If you think of a hurricane, all around the center of the storm, stuff's flying everywhere. Chaos, uncontrollable factors, things flying everywhere, things that are just out of place. But in the center of that storm, there remains to be a very calm and oriented center. And that's who the real estate agent needs to be. Because, truth be told, you are gonna be the sponge for a lot of bullshit that clients wanna unload onto you, right? And this is why we never let buyers and sellers come together to negotiate, is because if they were to come together at one single moment during the transaction, who knows what they could be saying to each other? And one party might be offended by the other, and a whole bunch of messes can be made. So as us agents, our responsibility is to take whatever message that our clients have, dumb it down into a simplified message, and communicate it professionally and unemotionally to the other side of the transaction. That's where the value of the real estate agent is when it comes to the emotional side of the business, is knowing that people are going to be emotionally invested. They're going to throw a ton of crap onto their agents. As us, it's our responsibility to absorb all the negativity and fear and anxiety in that transaction, and to come out of it, on a more positive and optimistic note, so that we can keep the transaction moving forward, right? And that's, again, the reality. That's why I'm saying, if you cannot handle your own emotions, the emotional highs and lows of this business, what makes you think that you can handle the freaking bucket loads, truckloads of emotional reactions that our clients are going to have to any sort of transaction? All right, so I'm at the third property right now and want to drop the third point that I wanted to share. I kind of hinted at it at the previous point, and that's the more independent that you are in this business, the more likely you are to start to not show up. And of course, quit the business. That's because, like I said before, a lot of this stuff has to deal with your self-discipline and your ability to keep yourself accountable throughout all parts of the day, right? Because it's very easy for me to just wake up at 9 a.m., not do anything until 12 p.m., and then finally start to pick up the phone at 3 o'clock and then end at 4 o'clock. That's not really a work day, is it? So with that in mind, it's really easy to say, hey, I want to take this day off and not do anything, but it's pretty hard when you're not feeling it to get up and start working at 8 a.m. and then end until 6 p.m., right? Most jobs, of course, would have a penalty system for you for not checking into work and then checking out, right? But in this business, you don't have that. So the way that I keep myself accountable is to have a strict calendar which is created based on my business plan, which means I want to close X amount of deals a year. How many phone calls, how many appointments, how many contracts must I sign, how many escrows must I open to make sure that that dream or that goal becomes a reality. Then I would structure my schedule on a quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis, and then of course down to the hourly basis to make sure that I'm following my goals, to make sure that they become a reality and that I'm stepping closer to them. So I've said it in a previous video before, your schedule is your boss. You gotta make sure that, despite you being an independent contractor, you not having a boss to keep you accountable, that you still instill upon yourself discipline, self-imposed discipline, to make sure you get up and do the work that is necessary to get you closer to your goals. All right, so that's for the third point, and I'll see you on the next property. All right, so we're here at the last property, and this is where I'll be dropping the last point, and it's about the deals that you will be closing in your career, right? The general public likes to think that we're making thousands of dollars on our commissions and that we're filthy rich ballers, we're driving nice cars and all that stuff. Kind of true, right? There's some agents out there who live that life, and the commissions aspect is definitely true where you make thousands of dollars, but it's not always the case where every single deal is profitable, right? If you remember the last video that I created, I showed you the $1.02 million listing as I was driving by. That's the property that our team sold. And truth of the matter is, it didn't go very smoothly, right? And to be fair, not all transactions do go smoothly, if any, at all. Our potential commission on that was above 20 grand, if you do the math. But we only came out of it for 5 grand. And that's because part of our commission had to be sacrificed to keep the deal alive. It wasn't anything to do with negotiating for commissions, negotiating for the listing agreement, or anything like that. It was just the seller was in a very tough situation, and if we had actually been able to get something out of it, we had to sacrifice part of our commission to keep the deal alive. And the sad reality is, don't mind the sweat, it's a little hot here, but the sad reality is that because our commission is negotiable and because it is being paid at the end, at the close of escrow, and not being paid up front, there's a potential for our commission to be used to keep the deal going and to actually close the deal, right? There are many times where some legal disputes come up and that our commission is held for a year before the property closes. Hopefully that doesn't happen to me, and it doesn't happen to you if you're looking to get in the business, but just know that your commission isn't always guaranteed, even if you have a listing or if you have a buyer in escrow. And it's, again, not always guaranteed that you will get paid full commission during these transactions. So as long as you have these expectations in place and that you know that this is a very hard and gruesome business and that you have the right expectations of the sales and marketing aspect, you'll do fine. I know I was kind of, pessimistic in the beginning, but the reality is, I think our business, our industry would do much better if people were more pessimistic of the opportunities or the realities of this business, so that less people come in, less people drop out, and overall public regard of us real estate agents will be heightened. All right, so if this video helps, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm super sweaty right now, but if there's something I could help you with, just leave it down in the comments below. But thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.